Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh, and I'm here to talk to you about the blended retirement system. Now, there have been a lot of changes since my last video, and I felt a new one was warranted so that we're all um, well informed, as well as the calculator that I made has been updated live, matching the changes. But there's never been a video to explain what those new changes were. So the last half of the video will be kind of a tutorial. But before I begin, as I said in my last video, I want to repeat here that I am not a professional financial advisor. I am just a random person repeating facts and giving my opinion on some things. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, and please, if you want to take this knowledge and bring it to a professional advisor, that is, double thumbs up. To begin, a lot of you probably won't care about the details. So the simplest way to say this is, if you are not planning on staying in 20 years, opt into the new system. The old system has no benefit. If you're unsure if you're going to stay 20 years, whether of your own volition or, I don't know, maybe you have a medical condition that may warrant early separation or retirement, then the blended retirement system has a safety net if you don't make it to 20. Now, that being said, I guess to cover from the beginning, why is the DoD switching to this blended retirement system? And the first reason is for recruitment/retention, right? Because currently only 19% of our force benefit from a military pension. And in order to incentivize people to stay in longer, or at least give them something for their time spent, the DoD is now incorporating what the civilian sector does in its own way to a degree. This also motivates the members intrinsically to save for retirement, because they're now putting their future into the hands of the member, more or less. And ultimately, this will save the government money, and I'll talk to that later. Just a little technical gobbledygook. So to illustrate the difference between the old and the new, I set up this little simple chart. Over here we have the old system, right, where it's only benefiting 19% of the force, and you do have these two options right here. Now this option is what we're all used to. It's the 50% at 20-year standard, right? Going up to 75% if you make it to 30. And it's times your average 36-month or your highest 36-month range. The other option, the career status bonus, is first off, it's going away, and anyone who's watching this video can't opt in because it's granted at the 15-year mark. It's a flat $30,000, and you take the reduction of the multiplier to 2% for every year that you served instead of 2.5%. And this 2%, there's also no TSP match. The 2% that you get in the career status bonus is kind of being imitated here in the blended retirement system, where you have 2% times years of service times your high 3 years worth of pay, and that'll get you to 40 to 60%. And there's all these other options here that you've probably seen, and I'll just cover them slide by slide. So the new system has a couple criteria for people to opt in. Members who joined in 2006 or later are able to opt into the new system. If you joined in 2005 or before, then you have too much time in service and you are not eligible to opt in. The benefit here is, if you're at that 12-year mark and you're ineligible, it was probably not optimal for you to opt in anyway. So it's not too much of a loss. The opt-in period for those eligible is from 1 January 2018 to 31 December 2018. So any day in 2018, you can opt in. There is mandatory CBT training for those who are eligible, and also you need to complete it to complete the opt-in process. How do you opt in? The process for everyone except the Marines is done through MyPay. The Marines will go through Marine Online. Probably the most important aspect of this thing is your decision to opt in is irrevocable, meaning once you go in, you can't go back, which is why they're putting so much stress on education during 2017. Now, opting in is completely optional. That's to say, if you do nothing, like you or me, do absolutely nothing, then you're grandfathered into the old system. There is some talk about the lump sum option affecting programs that you see here below. This is just because it's affecting your pension pay, and we'll get into that in a couple slides. But one of the ways the DoD is compensating for this reduction in pension is through continuation pay. Now this is awarded somewhere between your 8th and 12th year of service. It comes with a 3-year service obligation, and when you get it, you can elect to receive it in 1 to 4 equal increments every year, much like a reenlistment bonus. The amount is based off of the needs of your respective service, based on your job. The nice thing about this is that there is a minimum of 2.5 times your monthly base pay, going all the way up to 13 times. For an E6 in this range of years of service, you're looking at somewhere between $9,000 to $47,000. A very important thing to note is that this sum of money is separate from a Zone B or C reenlistment bonus. So you can potentially get both, regardless of whether or not your reenlistment bonus hits the $90,000 cap. The other major way that the DoD is compensating for the reduction in pension is through TSP matching. Now, starting at 60 days time of service, the agency will start contributing 1% automatically into your respective TSP. You are also enrolled automatically for 3% of your base pay in the appropriate life cycle fund, which should probably be 2050, maybe 2060 or whenever it comes out. After 2 years time in service, the TSP matching begins. So that 3% that they automatically enrolled you for, they will put 3% matching as well, totaling 4% because of the 1% contribution. Now, the matching will go like this. If you contribute 1%, they're going to do 1%. If you do 2, they do 2, 3 for 3. If you do 4, you get like a half thing. So if you say I will contribute 4%, they will give you 3.5%. And if you do 5, they'll do 4. The TSP matching will end at your 26th year of service. And a very frequent question, which I get and I hear a lot, is I've been contributing to the TSP for 10 years, and if I opt in, am I able, are they going to retroactively match that? Unfortunately, no. It's just once you opt in, the month after, what's a better way of putting this? Okay, you opt in to January 2018 because the 1st is a federal holiday. You will be processed and then fully opted in February. So that's when the matching will begin, and it will matter what you've done, what you've contributed from January or before. Everything starts when you're opted in. There's no retroactive anything, unfortunately. The final and possibly most significant part of the blended retirement system is the lump sum. Now, this specific component is going to be a make or break for a lot of people. You decide whether or not to take the lump sum 90 days before retirement, and you have a choice. You can say, I want either 0%, 25%, or 50% of the pension that you're going to get from the age you retire at. So say you did 20 years, you joined at 20, you served 20, so you're 40 years old. So from 40, 41 until 67, you take the entire amount of the money that you would get and either have it or take a quarter out, and you are given that in a lump sum up front, which is also payable in 1 to 4 equal increments for the first 4 years. The slight trade-off to this is it is given at the discounted present value, which is 4.28% plus the 7-year HQM rate, which averages roughly to be about 5%. So just assume minus 10% for easy math, right? The advantage to this, and this is really huge, is that you're able to invest, decades worth of money sooner, making the market work for you and really maximizing the potential of the new system. And that is what my calculator displays, which we'll get to very soon, actually. Also, kind of a morbid note, but if you die before 67, technically you've made more money than you should have, because as you live, okay, I'm 55, well, you get the other half if you took the 50%, right? You get the other half of your age 55 pay, age 66 or 56, and then you die at 57, well, you got 58 through 67, easy peasy. Now, mind you, this specific mentality of instantly investing in it does require discipline. This calculator does tell you objectively that if you do this, then this is, which system is better for you. And that's something that you have to decide for yourself, whether or not you are self-disciplined enough to not take potentially $250,000 and spend it on a home or something. We covered this, right? We covered the old versus the new, but that's really technical and stuff. So a simple way that I've been explaining it to people is for a 20-year E7, which is like the hallmark for military folk. The new system, it does lower that amount to $1,700 a month, but you've gained $39,000 in TSP matching. That's not counting the whatever rate of return you got. That's just flat amounts, like not adjusted throughout the years. The continuation pay somewhere between $9,000 and $47,000, and the lump sum is anywhere between $125,000 to $250,000. It really depends on what age you enlisted, as well as the rank that you retire at, and which option you're taking, obviously. But just some easy numbers to look at. Final thing I want to cover is from way earlier on when I said that the government is going to be saving money. And this is true if you opt in, because despite all of this, with the TSP match and the continuation pay, the government will save money on people who retire under the blended retirement system after roughly 6 years of collecting a pension, because this amount is only a couple years worth of difference. It's roughly $5,000, so maybe 8 years for this, but that's how it begins to catch up. For the longest of long terms, the government will eventually save money on this new system, but that doesn't mean that it's bad, and that's what this next portion will cover. So on to the calculator. Hopefully if you get this far, you're wondering, is this right for me? Or maybe you skipped ahead and now you're here. Great. This will kind of tell you how to take this calculator and have it show you the most optimal path for you, the individual, because I can't do that. We all have different ages we enlist in, different years that we promote in. We all know different services promote differently, or like faster, slower. There are different speeds. So this calculator is pretty much the best way that you can decide for yourself. So we're going to take this and go through it a little slowly. The first step that you need to do with this calculator, if you are opting in, which should be everyone, this very first line here, right? Yeah, that one. and in this block, this here, the first lines here, it should say year 1, E, low, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter. And then for the government match, you put 0. The expected rate of return is 0, and your contribution actually doesn't matter, but you can put 0. The reason why we put 0, 0 for the match and the return is because the calculator needs a baseline year to start from, which should be 1, and then going forward, all the calculations are based off that first line. So then the second line should be the year that you will be in 2018 when you opt in. Yeah, let's just say in 2018 you're going to be a 9-year E6, and you are contributing 5%. So you will get the government match of 5%, and the rate of return, you can put 5% to kind of like curve your expectations. The normal range is somewhere between 5 and 7, and this is all calculated in today's dollars. Normally when you see rates of return, they're somewhere between, I don't know, 7 to 10. We're subtracting inflation, so that's why we lower our range down, because dealing in today's dollars is very important for the current member, because, I mean, how much does $1 million mean to you now? How much does $1 million mean to you 40 years from now? We can't answer that question. The same way that our parents, we're buying penny candies from the store. They're like, oh, sweet, I get a penny, and now I can go buy candy. For us, you can't buy anything with a penny. It's like a minimum of a quarter, right? That difference, which is subtle but done throughout time. The following lines should be when you expect to promote, or when maybe you have to change your calculations up and contribute less, or maybe your rate of return was great. This is also something you can do as you go throughout your career. You can say, okay, well, actually, as a matter of fact, in my 10th year, I promoted to E6, so for year 9, you would put E5. Something like that, right? You can adjust this as you go through your career to better see where you are, although by then you've probably already opted in. The other important section is down here, where we have the age you enlisted at, which is actually a very relevant factor now, as we covered with the lump sum. The retirement year of service, obviously, how many years do you serve? The continuation pay year, now that's somewhere between 8 and 12. I would say for the more junior folk, you could probably put 8 or 10 depending on your enlistment alignment. Like, did you originally enlist for 4 and then you re-enlisted for 4, that kind of stuff. It's all based on your personal life, just guess. And also the continuation pay multiplier. I generally lowball it just to gauge expectations. And what you see here is when you put in, say, 4, the purple block below says what that amount is, which is just, kind of like a gee whiz. This final orange block up here is your life expectancy. We're all not going to live forever, and in some cases, if you die early enough, then potentially, this feels weird to say, but it's worth it to opt in, right? Because your theoretical money is higher than what it would have been if you stayed in the old system. This last little bottom part down here, where you would put if you're going to take the 0%, the 25%, or the 50% lump sum. And what it's going to show you is 2 things here. The red is the original lump sum amount. The purple is what you're going to get, and there's going to be a very slight difference, but I put this in just so you could see the difference. By electing to take this money earlier, technically the government is spending, the difference between that, those 2 amounts is spending slightly less on you, but you're able to invest it much sooner anyway. So now bringing over to this graph, and this is where this top bit comes in handy, right here. So we're going to assume that you opt in as a 9-year E6 and you take the 0% lump sum. Now, what do these 2 graphs here show? The graph on the left right here is a specific scenario. So say you opted in to the new system and you invested the money, right? The 40% base pay if you retired at 20, which is what this simulation is. is the 40% base pay was sufficient to pay your bills and cover all your expenses, and you didn't need to dip into retirement, right? Which is what this red line is. The red line is the new system. Well, if you didn't need that 10% difference from the legacy system, what theoretically could you have done with that 10%? And that's what this one shows, where the blue line is just that 10% difference, which here is about $5,000 a year. If you took that money and invested it, how would it have grown? And we see that it catches up very quickly, somewhere around like age 50. The graph on the right says, okay, you actually needed that money, that 10%. So what you have to do is dip into your retirement to cover the bills or necessities. Whereas if you were in the new system, which is why you don't see a blue bar, it's just at the 0 line, right? That right there. So it's always at 0 because it says 100% of your retirement went to pay bills. We see that it goes up and then it comes crashing down. A very, very important aspect of all this is the lines that you're seeing here is not dipping into your personal what you personally have contributed. It is only focused on the government matching money because it doesn't matter if which system you're in. People can contribute 10% in the old or 10% in the new. There's just the benefit of the new system, which is what this calculator is focusing on. This is the scenario that we see for a 9-year E6 0% lump sum. The next simulation is the exact same criteria here. The only difference is that we took the 25% lump sum. And I guess to illustrate the difference, one thing you might not notice is here on the right graph, that number is changing from 200,000 to a million, right? 200,000, a million. So it's going to look bad, but only because the timeline goes all the way to 111 years or something, which, sorry. So let's focus on the easier to read graph, this one right here, where under the 0% lump sum, we see that it crosses over very early. However, in the 25% lump sum, we see that if you didn't need the money, it always is higher and thusly more optimal than the old system. If you did need the money here, then we see that it quickly runs out. Now, potentially the best option is the 50% lump sum. Same situation, 9-year opt-in, and E6 that opts in at his 9th year of service, so 2018. This is what you have to look forward to. In this graph, again, we see the new system clearly winning. All that extra money gets invested, and it's lovely, and it's great. This does account for having to withdraw for the difference of the lump sum. This graph, for all examples, also factors in that you do withdraw from this amount to cover the lump sum, but not the 10% difference between the old and the new. And then also in this final one, it lasts for actually quite a long time. What is that? 65, 66-ish? But then again, it does dip. But an important thing that I want to illustrate here is the importance of rate of return of what you expect. Because here we have 5s. If you make this a 6% rate of return, again 1%, we see that this far graph, look at that. It never actually hits 0. It does dip until you hit 67, and then your pay is restored, so you don't have to take that amount out, and then it just rises and rises. So this is kind of the variable in this decision-making process of how well do you think your investments are going to do, however you invest them in the stock market, in real estate, what have you. Can you get a 6% rate of return versus the 5? So that's kind of what I want to leave you off here with. Hopefully this has been helpful, and if you want to learn more about finances and money, say that this video has inspired you to opt in, perhaps, or just start thinking about money in general, please continue on through this playlist, where the next video that we will cover is budgets. Where you're probably thinking, well, how do I figure out how much I can save for retirement? That's where we will cover then. Thank you for your time and attention. The calculator is in the description below. And good luck. Thank you.